Alright, looks like everything's set up. I'm gonna start this running of Crash 2, any percent no game over abuse. Time is gonna start when I gain control of Crash in the warp room, so I'll count down to when that happens. At first we got an opening cutscene to skip. Alright, and the time will start in approximately 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this is Crash 2, any percent no game over abuse. And what I'm going to be doing in this category is collect all 25 of the crystals from the levels and defeat the bosses after every 5 of them. One of the things about this game's input handling is that it once in a while will drop one, and that's what happened there. But anyway, since all I need is the crystals, it doesn't really matter too much what boxes I do or don't break. So I'll just get through using mainly neutral slide spins, which are a way to keep sliding speed for a little bit longer than you normally would. They are the fastest way to... sliding movement is the fastest, but with the cooldown on sliding, unless you extend the momentum by doing a neutral spin afterwards, the cooldown prevents you from going faster than running. But in all of the warp rooms except for the 4th one, I'm generally just going to be doing the levels in order. There aren't really mask routing considerations in this game in this category like there are in the other Crash games, because having third mask form actually in most cases slows you down because you can't neutral slide spin. Well, you can, but it's not faster. That's also why I am not getting a third mask even when I could. So this level is our first one with the waterboard. And for that we'll just be boosting through. You may notice a timer has appeared on the screen. That's because in this level and in one of the later waterboard levels, there is an extra gem that you get for completing the level within a certain amount of time. But the animation of Crash throwing the gem up into the air and it moving into its slot above the level portal is, well, it wastes time in this category, so we're just gonna go around the gem. So this is the pits. This is another level in sort of the same style as Turtle Woods. But this one has a branch in it. And in 100%, there would be this odd dance of going a little forward in the right branch to get some boxes, then coming back and going down this one, and then backtracking down the end of that right branch. But here we just go down the left one because that's where the crystal is. To escape those pits, I'm doing a slide jump and spinning immediately after jumping. That's called a glitch high jump. Goes a little bit higher than an ordinary slide jump would. Although I actually am jumping a little higher than I would anyway because I'm doing this run on the fastest version of the game, which is the PAL version. They slightly overcompensated for some of the effects of the reduced frame rate. Ugh, drop slide. In Crash's movement parameters, so that's how we end up with the slightly higher jumps and slightly faster movement. So these levels with the boulder chases, they're pretty much a case of knowing where the obstacles are. Because the speed of neutral slide spinning doesn't give you that much lead time. So now that we have our 5th crystal, we can do our first boss fight against Ripperoo. He hops around placing and exploding TNT and nitro squares on a grid and does exactly the same pattern every time, so this is just a case of getting to the safe spot and waiting for Ripperoo to become vulnerable. I slide against Ripperoo when he's about to become vulnerable to hit him at the first opportunity. Also, Ripperoo himself is harmless to come in contact with. You can bounce on him a little bit. It's always nice when you're able to let Crash go into an idle animation during a boss fight. This will bring us to our next set of 5 levels, starting with another snow level. This one has a lot more ice in it than Snow Go did. More than a few times when I've gone right for that, I've gotten hit just by the left edge of the log crusher falling down and then fallen into the pit. Yeah, Air Crash is another one of the waterboard levels. This one doesn't have one of those gem timers in it, but instead it has a death route, which we're not going to be doing because this is any percent. But it also has a secret warp room entrance, as well as an alternate entrance from the secret warp room. And that's needed in order to get all of the boxes. I'm gonna use up my mask to not have to wait for those mines. In 100%, I actually would be using the boost off of taking the damage from that mine to get onto that platform with those 4 boxes on it to the left, to avoid having to slide jump across the platforms leading to it and then back. So now we are at Barrett, where we're riding a baby polar bear throughout the level, who never stops moving forward. These levels can be a real pain in 100% with some of what you have to do in, well, to make sure you get all the boxes. But in this category, we don't care about that. I probably should have mentioned what makes this different from the other any percent categories. This does all 25 of the main levels. So does any percent game over abuse, but what that one does is takes advantage of the fact that if you grab the crystal from a level and then you game over and then you complete some other level, you still get the crystal from the first level. So that effectively means that you only need to actually get to the end of one level per warp room. Ideally, the one whose crystal is closest to its exit. True any percent does a glitch to get all of the crystals from one level. So it only does Snow Go and then... Ooh. Not only did I get the tumbling animation, I got it twice. So any percent is doing that glitch and then a boss rush. because you still have to beat all the bosses to get into the subsequent warp rooms. But of the any percent categories, this is the one that's run the most often because all of the deaths in the game over abuse one really get old. And this one is sort of the closest to playing the game as intended. Where you're getting to the end of each of the 25 levels with its crystal to unlock the bosses. This is the first of the sewer levels. Common features of these levels are the electric eels electrifying those pools on a cycle. Also, this material that Crash hangs from with his arms and is a little slow to move across. The only time we use third mask form in this run is on a later one of these levels because it actually makes Crash go very fast across these grids. But now we have our 10th crystal, so we can do the second boss, the Komodo Brothers. The movement that first time is always that pattern. You spin Komodo Mo into Komodo Joe, some knife throwing happens, and then we reach phase 2. You can manipulate the bouncing a little bit by where you are. And then 3 hits and there you go. On to the next 5 levels. So this is our next waterboard level, and for some of those jumps... Sorry, I'm very conditioned to having a mask there, so I sometimes forget that I don't have one and don't veer to the side to avoid the mine. But there are plenty of masks for the later parts of the level. One of which I'll be relying on to get through this area. Those plants are very unforgiving. And that yellow gem was still there because I still made it to the end of the level within the timer that I had before that death, even though that death also happened. Such as the power of the neutral slide spin. The hitbox of those torch flames is very large, larger than it looks, so I had to wait for that. I do have a mask, but I want to have it for backups for if I don't correctly make it through the fans here. Normally you're supposed to spin 3 enemies into the fast-moving fans to... I should have used my mask on the torch guy there. Each one spins away one of the blades of the fan, and then once you have all 3, there you go. But with the right timing, you can make it through with only one of the blades broken. So here's Bear Down, the second bear level. Again, it's just a case of getting to the end. Although, there are some new obstacles added to it. Also, there are some much wider pits, so you gotta watch the timing of your boost jumps. And now that that's done, we'll move on to a new type of level, the Ruin level. There's a lot of jumping from platform to platform in these. And those flames you can glitch high jump over. And the last level of this warp room is sort of a cross between bear levels and the boulder chase levels. Instead, we are... Alright, that's better. Instead, we're going to be chased by large bears. Now, this has those electric barriers across, sort of like Crash Crush had, but in this level they're slightly lower, so you must be on the sliding phase of a neutral slide spin to get under them. Those two barriers are the ones to really watch out for. That does it for both bear levels and boulder levels. And our third boss is going to be Tiny the Tiger. This is the only place where there really is RNG in this run. Hopefully it will cooperate. And the platforms that fall will be ones that Tiny is about to jump onto. The glitch high jump makes this opens up more possibilities because you can get from a platform to one that's 2 away from it. If it wasn't for the glitch high jump, I wouldn't have been able to get over here. But we got a reasonably good fight there. Only 2 extra hops from Tiny. So this is the one warp room that we're going to do out of order. And that is because level 16, Hanging Out, is the one level where we do want to get the invincibility form for 3 masks. But it's the first mask box in the level that gives us the place where we want to do that. So we need to bring 2 masks into the level. So we need to do some other level first to make that happen. Now those explosions from that fruit, if you're spinning at the time that they happen, then they don't hurt you. So that's why I was moving around a little bit weird and spinning there. And this level also introduces the bees. It is possible to glitch high jump over the electric gates there, but it's... I'd prefer to be able to show you third mask form in hanging out, so I didn't go for that. There are two masks that we have brought out of digging it, so we can make this happen. Hanging out is the last sewer level. Well, there goes the third mask form, but you'll be able to see how that would have worked. The other thing that would have been nice about getting that would have been that I don't really have to care about the cycles of the movement of these things because I can just go right through them. One of the reasons why this is the one third mask form you do want. Also, I avoided sliding into the holes that warp you to the next part of the level because in this level, the loading zone doesn't extend quite as far as it does in the other levels, so it's possible to slide past it and it's treated as falling into a pit. This is Ruination, the second ruin level. One of the common features of it is that it has box arrangements that are the same as the ones that... Oops. That are the same as ones that are in Road to Ruin, but with some nitros mixed in to throw you off a little bit. I wasn't entirely sure I would have made it from that first jump, so that's why I sort of veered to the left. Here we have our last snow level, Cold Hard Crash. This has the most boxes of any level in this game. It also has a death route with boxes on it that bypasses a long section of the main level that also has boxes on it. And that makes this level a real pain to get the box gem in the intended way. But we'll be taking the death route anyway, because it is shorter than the main part of the level that it bypasses. "100% gets past the really long backtrack that would otherwise be required by doing a box duplication glitch. So at least the large number of boxes isn't too bad for that category. And our last level in this warp room is Behaving. This is much like Digging It, except that the bees move a lot faster and in larger numbers. You're intended to need to burrow underground in that reddish-colored surface to escape from the bees. But thanks to neutral slide spinning, we can still outrun them. That spin as I was landing on that caused me not to get hit by that explosion. Since I had an extra mask there, I just went through the nitros. Oh, another 5 crystals, another boss fight. And this is the engine fight, where I'll be shooting fruit at vulnerable spots. Each of those hands takes 10 hits. Ideally, I complete both of them during this first sweep, so that I don't get a second phase with only one of the hands. And the shoulders, same thing applies, but each side takes 5. So 3, 2, 3, 3. Oh, I just barely missed the last shot on the right one. And that gives it that gives the remaining one 2 extra hits that it can withstand. So that's why I had to hit that one 3 more times. And then I gotta hit this part 5 times.
Master Cortex will be very displeased with your resistance. Prepare to suffer his wrath!
And now we have our last 5 levels. All of them are of types that we haven't really seen before. Got this piston level. When those have their arms up, any contact other than sliding or spinning them from the ground to the side of them will hit you. So I needed a pretty big jump to get over both that heated thing and the one with its arms up. Now this level is one of the 2 jetpack levels. And these levels actually, on one of the enemy types, have a PAL-specific skip that I can do to not have to... to not have to defeat them that way. Since I got knocked backwards from taking that hit due to hitting while his hands were electrified, I still had to beat that one in the intended way. But that one, there was the trick in action. But if you spin one of those enemies and you just keep pushing forward, you'll go past and won't get hit again. And that plasma thing at the end of the room is actually harmless, because you never were supposed to actually get there. But that's something that you can only do on the PAL version. So here we have Night Fight. Where there are these fireflies that you gotta have follow you in order to see what's actually going on. And they are very carefully timed to last just long enough that with continuous movement by intended means, you can get to the next one, just as this one runs out. So of course, with neutral slide spinning, you'll often see them last a little bit past where the next one is. And that shows the extra speed that neutral slide spinning gives you. Here we have another jetpack level. Sort of like how behaving was related to digging it. This is a sort of slightly more involved version of Rocket. It's nice of them to provide a mask here. Those groups of 4 floating mines can be a little bit weird as to whether you actually hit them or not. As can the wires. And this brings us to the last level, Spaced Out. Sort of the similar concept of the more involved version of Piston It Away. I didn't make it out far enough to not hit my head on the piston there. That's better. The side of those platforms will kill you. So it's important that I get up above it before I actually move towards it. Now, even though that enemy there has a dangerous neck, so that's intended to force you to slide into it, and jumping on him won't work, but sliding from above for some reason works also. So there's 25 crystals, so now we can go beat Cortex in probably the most anticlimactic final boss fight of any Crash game. It's just another jetpack level. As long as I don't hit any of the rocks, there are 3 places where I can spin, and down he goes. Time ends on the 3rd hit, which will be in a few seconds. And time.
Haven't seen the last of me, Crash Bandicoot!
Alright, 4907. Nice.
Crash,
Yeah.
what do you suppose happened
Sorry
to
about
Cortex?
those deaths.
And what about the
I
Cortex vortex?
sort of
Still up there.
did this on short notice. But that's Crash 2 any % no-go.